All right, fellas. So, moving on to the final topic of the evening, it is Eric Boykins. For those of you who do not know who Eric Boykins is, it is definitely a hot topic, um, not just in the Black community, but in general recently, in which a photo of white cops posing with a smiling black man as if he was some kind of animal trophy kill has surfaced recently. And I'm just going to read a little bit from this article that is actually on US Newsweek. So, those of you who don't know the story can get some more information. The title of the article is Photo of White Cops Posing with Smiling Black Suspect Sparks Outrage. It's a trophy. So, a photo, and this is directly from the article, a photo of a group of armed white police officers surrounding a detained black suspect has sparked a backlash on social media. The photo depicted Eric Boykin, a suspect in a bank robbery in Prentiss, a small town in Mississippi's Jefferson Davis County. Investigator Richard Browning of the Prentiss Police Department told the station that Boykin of Gulfport entered the Hancock Bank armed with a handgun and robbed it. He fled the scene, but was captured on Tuesday in a wooded area around 600 yards from the bank after a manhunt involving multiple law enforcement agencies, including the ATF, FBI, Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, and the Mississippi Department of Corrections. So in the photo, Boykin, who is shirtless, is seen smiling on the ground with his arms behind his back with four white officers and two dogs. And for those of you who don't know, the photo looks just like the type of photo that hunters take in a safari after they've caught their kill and are taking kind of like the trophy photo. So if you haven't seen the photo, please get out and take a look because it is definitely the most pertinent piece to this story. So the official question that we're going to discuss is why would four white cops pose in a photo with a black man handcuffed on the ground? So we're going to actually throw this to E-Man to start us off. What say you, sir?
All right, so all right, so the best way to start this off, you know, is basically the slave catching the nigga. Basically, that's what it looks like to me, you know, and and I'm not too sure you guys know this because I watch a whole lot of different shows, and one of my favorite shows of Discovery ID used to been I almost got away with it. So those guys who went to prison, who whatever they did, they had a crime, they broke out of prison, or they escaped from prison, and they were out on the lam until they got caught again, you know, and many police officers sometimes would take pictures as prizes, because depending on what the level that person towards, like, whatever state or that whatever, I don't even know what they call it, like the level of, like, of whatever they're ranked towards this crime, or like how they see him on, I forget the name of it, but basically how what their ranking is based upon what they've done towards being on the most wanted list and whatnot. But they take pictures as prizes, and in this case, it seems like this dude must have been a notorious bank robber and whatnot, because nobody takes pictures with with non-celebrity people. I've never seen that before. When you really, it was like what, 4 or 5 officers in the picture, so it seemed like this dude must be known in Mississippi and whatnot. one of the most poorest, gumpest areas in the US. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it just looked very laughable to me because when I saw the picture, I laughed and whatnot. It just seemed like be like, ha ha, we caught you, nigga. That's what it seemed. What the type of energy that the photo displayed. And I never got a chance to even read the story, and I really probably didn't want to read it because it just seems it's just one of those stories that's gonna be, it just looks bad, you know, and many people. And here's a good fun fact and whatnot. I'm not too sure many people know that that police officers are actually were actually part of the KKK. There still are, just putting it out there, only because the simple fact they were the people who were the slave catchers.
Oh, absolutely. That's what happened to, the case of the three civil rights workers that were killed in Mississippi. I think it was in 1962 or
Mm-hmm.
1963, but the three civil rights workers who went down there, it was two white men and one black guy, and they went down there to register people to vote, and they were actually pulled over by the sheriff's department, who had actually called the KKK, because they were members, to follow them so that they can pull the three civil rights workers over and kill them. And it was the cops that facilitated that. It was the deaths of, and I want to make sure that I clear, because that was a serious situation. But it was in 1964. And it was the investigation of the murder of Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner. Those were the three victims' names. And it was perpetrated by the sheriff's department, who were members of the Ku Klux Klan.
And this is the reason why, us, what I mean, us more, those who are, who are indigenous and black and whatnot, have issues with police officers when they pull us over because we know the history behind, these. I don't like to say jobs. I don't want to say career, but these these constraints, I'll put it like that, make it much more, so I don't have to be too formal about it. But this is and it's never going to change and whatnot. It doesn't matter who's behind that uniform, because remember, a uniform can be taken off. It's a piece of fabric that distinguish you. You know, or in this case, I like to use the word discrimination because the origin of the word discrimination means distinguish, to basically know what group you are a part of and whatnot. Like, we know who athletes are because, there's certain things that distinguish them being athletes, just like a police officer, fireman, so on and so forth, you know? And this is like sick. Just like, I don't know, like what was going through your mind when not just because you caught a bank robber, because it seemed like he must have been a very notorious bank robber, like I've already stated before, but what was going through your mind? Like, all was like, oh yeah, let's still take a photo, we can go put this on our wall and whatnot. But then then those type of people would say, maybe I have a black friend. Oh no, I'm not racist. Oh, what are you talking about? This was just for work. See, it's those little guilt phrases that everyone catches herself in. And it's one of those things where I'm like, damn, did you really had to take the picture? Why couldn't you just put them in and whatnot? And they did the same shit. No, they didn't do the same shit to that white dude who burned that church in Charleston, South Carolina. They let the fool go to Burger King and
Yeah, they took
whatnot,
his
get
ass to
something to
Burger King.
eat. I don't know what's even worse. You know, they let the man eat something and whatnot. You know, you already know when you definitely go to jail and whatnot. Once you get signed in, you definitely get a meal and whatnot. But literally, you know, mm, and and my question is, did those officers take a picture of the that dude who burned down that church and supposedly and
That wasn't the he didn't burn down the church. That's the one that went inside and killed 9 people.
oh okay, oh I'm sorry,
No, you're fine.
oh
Yeah,
them
the
stories
dude
I
that they
get.
got the Burger King for, he walked into a church and he killed 9 people that were in there in prayer circle.
Mm. But y'all let that man go get my man. Let me show you so crazy. That situation, that man did something so wrong. He went to the place where you can have it your way and whatnot. You know, yeah, I use a reference, from the commercial and whatnot. But yeah,
That wasn't even about the Burger King itself. It was about sending the message. That was, I mean, we're talking about South Carolina, which unfortunately is a known racist state. And it is, and to me, that wasn't so much about him actually getting something to eat about as much as it was about sending the message that we're going to take this white suspect to get something to eat, even though we know he just killed 9 Black people. They were sending a message.
Back.
That's what I took from that. They were sending a message that yeah, we don't really care that he just killed 9 Black people. We're gonna take this white suspect to get something to eat. That was sending a message. People want to say, oh, it was just in poor taste. He was hungry. They shouldn't have did it. That's bullshit. There are no cut cards. Oh, not with me. I know a message when I see one, when I hear one. That's exactly what that was.
mm,
Yep.
well, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, because when you go to jail, once you get checked in, you definitely get a meal. So I don't. That's why I was like, yeah. It was like, so it's and now going back, back to this thing towards with this whole photo thing, like what was the big prize at the end of the day? Now you got people speculating you guys as a collective, unit itself and whatnot. Yeah. I I don't know why people make the decisions what they make. And we and I'm gonna use the word, accountability, that Nia Angel loves to use, but if we're gonna call police officers, firemen, all these blue collar workers and whatnot that we're supposed to keep holding to a good accountability and whatnot, and they drop the ball, like what are we supposed to do now? Because I tell everyone it's better to defend you with yourself versus as dealing with these so-called slave catchers and whatnot. That's what I call them. I hate calling them police officers. They're slave catchers. That's what the
Race
origin of what
soldiers.
they are. It's hard for me saying the word police. It really is, because when I say it, I have like a disgust taste in my mouth. Like I want to just spit out what I just said in my mouth. Be
Yeah,
like,
we just call them race soldiers, and yeah,
yeah,
slave patrol, because that's where they
yeah,
come from. Slave
yeah.
patrol.
That's where they come from. And I tell everyone, people forget about the origins of everything, but they want to talk about how modern everything is. I'm like, nah, you know.
Oh no, some people don't forget. They know. Some
There's
people just
people who
don't
know,
care.
but there's a good collective few that just don't want to know. You know, that's the that's the thing. Because I'm like, if we're gonna keep calling people, because this whole thing about the whole when they were pushing the Blue Lives Matter shit and all that stuff, and you know, how we should be respecting police officers, but if we have police officers doing that, taking pictures, because they caught a prize and whatnot. What do you want me to call them then? You know. But then we're going to use the narrative. Well, not every cop is bad. I'm like, of course, not every cop is bad. You know. But if you want to talk about your group, you know what I'm saying? They just made your group of people look bad. So what are you going to do to clear that up? And many people just don't know. This is where all these weird stigmas come from, not just all certain things that we like I wouldn't say do or say, but this is where, people get confused about everything that's supposed to be right, what is wrong. And I don't even know what else to say. Like, I'm not, it's to the sense of like, man, like, this is what we're doing, because this is what we're doing. That's what's really going on there. So, I'm gonna just leave it as that. I'm not even going. Yeah, I'm not going to speak no more on this because it didn't. I wasn't bothered, but it was the simple fact is like we're still doing this.
Right. Okay. Understandable, sir. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here, and I'm going to start by answering the official question. Why would 4 white cops pose in a photo with a black man handcuffed on the ground? I'm going to tell you why. Because they fucking can. They did it because they can, and they know that it is not going to bring any significant repercussions because they're in fucking Mississippi. It's still extremely racist down there in the Delta. Okay. There are certain states in the United States that are still extremely racist, even in 2021. South Carolina, West Virginia, Mississippi, and some of the middle redneck states are really, really racist still. And that's because there aren't going to be any repercussions in their mind, at least any significant repercussions for their actions. That's still the mentality that they live in.
Before you say, I don't want to cut you off now, Angel. I hate to even call West Virginia a fucking state. It is the west side of Virginia. They need to get that shit correct. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna let you continue. I just had to get that out there because I'm tired of people calling West Virginia a state. That's the damn west side of Virginia and whatnot. Get it right.
Well,
please.
It is drastically different from the other parts of Virginia.
Now it is.
Normal Virginia
now it is.
No. I get what you're saying, but Virginia that's closer to the DC and Maryland areas, like the state of Virginia, especially the areas that are part of the DMV, those are drastically different environments than what you're going to find in West Virginia. West Virginia has a feel. It has an old country redneck racism feel to it, right? I don't even like driving through West Virginia, whereas you do not get a similar feeling when you're in other parts of Virginia, and especially the parts that are considered part of the DMV, Arlington, Fairfax, some of those places in Virginia, Alexandria, even Richmond has a Southern feel to it, but is not as blatantly racist as West Virginia. So, but at any rate, there are certain states within the United States where there is still a lot of blatant racism, where they're not even really bothering to take the time to pretend as if there's been progression there. Prime example, the reason that the cops felt so comfortable escorting Dylan Roof, and I generally don't like to remember the names of murderers, but since he was brought up, I wanted to mention that because he's a despicable human being. But that explains why they were even comfortable doing that. They were sending a message. So were these police officers. The reason that they did it is because in their minds, they could and get away with it without little consequence. And it is truly how they felt about capturing that black man. At the end of the day, we have to face a harsh truth in America. And the truth is, there is no such thing as blanket equality in the United States, period. There just isn't. And as much as people want to say, there are some good cops, there are some good cops. You know what? Every fucking time a bad cop does something and a good cop doesn't call them out, he's become a bad cop. Because it's the police's responsibility
Shots fired.
to call them out. It is the police responsibility to uphold the law regardless of who's committing the crime.
Shots
So
fired.
every time they see one of their brethren committing a crime and they don't speak against it, or they see one of their brethren committing an atrocity and they don't do anything to stop it, they are no longer a good cop. And that's what people have to understand. They're a fucking fraternity. They're a gang. That's what the police are. They're a fraternity. They're a gang. I'm not saying that every single police officer goes out there with the intent of mistreating the people. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I know there are some police officers who would step up if they saw another cop doing something wrong. In fact, there was an example of one in the DMV area. I believe he was out of Baltimore County a few years ago, who did report on some of his brethren. He ended up dead. May he rest in peace. He ended up dead. He was actually the cousin of someone that I know. And I hope that his family has peace. But he ended up being killed. And the reality of it is there aren't enough police officers who are willing to stand up against their brethren when they do something wrong to say that there are more good cops than bad. That's not the case. And the reason these cops took this photo is because they were more than comfortable doing so. They're in fucking Mississippi. And people can act like the country has progressed so much. There has been some progression. There have been some who have opened their eyes, but there are still plenty who live in that box and who choose to pretend like racism isn't a thing. And then there are others who are not living in the box. They're just blatant with their shit. And that's exactly what happened here. These cops did this because they could. Some people have asked the question, why was the black man smiling? He robbed a fucking bank in 2021. Who knows what his mental health is? The fact that he thought he could get away with robbing a bank speaks to the, and I'm not making an excuse for the black man. He's guilty of robbing the bank. I'm not making an excuse for his behavior, but he robbed the bank in 2021 and tried to get away with it. That's not even a fucking thing anymore. So who knows why he was smiling in the photograph?
Banks don't got money.
The point. People are going to try to use the fact that he was smiling in the photograph to say, oh, it's okay because he was smiling. If it was really a problem, he wouldn't have been smiling. That's bullshit.
He could have been fearing for his life, to be honest.
Exactly.
Oh my
we don't know what the situation was. We don't know that those cops didn't tell him, hey, nigger, smile. We don't know.
Yep.
We weren't there. But the point of the matter is it doesn't excuse the behavior of the cops. It doesn't excuse the fact that they felt fucking comfortable doing it in 2021. And it doesn't excuse the fact that the overall problem, the high level problem, the overarching problem is that there are police officers who look at the people like a fucking trophy to hunt, a game to hunt, an animal to hunt, especially black people. Police are supposed to protect and serve. They work for us. That's what we have to remember as a society. Right. Police work for us. They are supposed to work for us. Their responsibility, the oath that they swear is to protect and serve the people.
Right.
I think a lot of people has really forgotten what power we have and whatnot. I think people keep forgetting, all your police officers, your firemen, I don't even want to use the word educated, but your schools and everything like that, they're all run by your taxes that get pulled out of your checks.
Yeah. Our tax dollars.
I'll put it like this, I went to Job Corps, all right? I went to Job Corps and everything. A lot of people don't know what Job Corps is, but it's an alternative trade school and whatnot, so you can definitely live there or you don't have to live there. My rebellious, obedient high school ass had to go to Job Corps because I didn't know what I wanted to do right after I graduated and whatnot. But your federal tax dollars go into that. And because of that, I actually didn't have to pay for my driver's license because I was at Job Corps, It's because those tax dollars paid it for me, and I had all the right places. I had all the right people to, get something for free, which it wasn't for free because somebody else was paying it, for me to obtain that, So people got to really understand, like, what you're paying for. You're not getting what you want because we're not understanding like what power we have to drive behind this. Another good example, I'm in education. I'm been educated for quite some time, Many people don't even know that your property taxes is what helps run your public schools and whatnot. So if you cared so much about your child's education, you can definitely make it better. Guess what? You choose not to and whatnot.
But when it comes to the police force, the people only have so much ability because of things like police unions and etc.
Right.
And trust me, I'm not making an excuse. I'm not saying that we, the people, should not stand up and say, no, we don't accept this. Of course we do. And of course we should. And that's what we do when we go out and march and protest and etc. But we have to understand the overall issue. The police are a separate entity for all intents and purposes. Yes, they are funded by tax-paying dollars, but we only have but so much control or input that they're going to accept. Because at the end of the day, they're not trained to look at the people as the core mission. They're trained to look at the people as the enemy. And that's part of the problem. It's in their training. It's in their funding. It's in these fucking these unions. Every time a situation happens, the police union is quick to cover the asses of their own, which I understand that's part of the reason for their existence. But if they were truly good people, what they would be trying to do is bring justice for those people who make them look bad, who are not protecting and serving the people. The reality of it is they commit these crimes. They do these things because they know they are not going to face appropriate consequences. It's that fucking simple. I mean, look at the situation we had here in Dallas. What was it, last year or the year before that, where the police officer went into the wrong apartment and killed that man. Okay. She claimed she thought she was in her apartment.
Oh, you talking about what happened to Botham John?
Yes, exactly. Botham John was sitting in his apartment and was killed by a police officer who went into the wrong apartment and started shooting. I mean, the reality of it is, the situation is, they know that they are not going to face any kind of punishment for certain things. Do you think she would have accidentally ran into the apartment of a white person?
Nope.
No. The reality of it is the police do not look at us as their mission. They do not, even though they swear that oath to protect and serve, they don't take that part of it seriously. What they're getting out of it is the opportunity to rule over people. And that's unfortunate.
They don't even get paid that much, to really be honest. So I don't know how much ruling you can really do. Is it because you got a badge and a gun and you're
so-called authority?
Yeah, so-called authority. You're just enforcing.
They're enforcing their so-called authority on
authority, not your will,
regular
but
people.
Yeah,
They knew they could get away with it, and they did what they wanted to do because they did not believe in, and I'm willing to bet probably still do not believe they're going to face any serious consequences for it. That's
they're not going. They're not really going to. It's really weird and hard because I put it like this. DC to me has by far the worst police officers in the motherfucking world, and that's why I feel like DC has gotten even worse and whatnot, But I feel like, I've seen and heard crazy stories on DC, and all of them are all factually true, and I'm not going to just use. I already know Mississippi, their shit's run down also too, but I'm also going to use another place that's also run down too, like. It's really fucking insane and whatnot, I even go down to Montgomery County and whatnot, I feel like, the officers are being quite lazy and whatnot. They're always keep complaining about people being drunk and outside and whatnot, but yet I don't see them do anything about it but to keep enforcing worse parking laws and keep removing parking and whatnot, but don't do what you're supposed to do and whatnot. Like, we ask everyone to do a job, but then you want to half-ass your job. But for me, if you want me to do my job, you want me to do my job at 110%. No questions asked. If I don't do mine and whatnot, me being an educator, you quick to curse me out when your kid don't get the grade they're supposed to get and whatnot. You see, like, this is not even a catch-22. This is the BS that we deal with every single day and everyone. It's the same authority. You feel like, your authority at what you do is higher than mine and whatnot. You see? That this issue won't change until we as people get this shit together and whatnot. Like, we gotta basically put these slave catchers in their places. Like, we definitely have to, Yeah. But it's very crazy when we start doing that. This is where all these crazy and weird videos hit the internet, you know, and you actually get to see that real person in their real true self without that uniform. Because I always state, you can always hide someone's personality when you have some type of uniform on. Yeah. Like, you can cause the most damage and whatnot. Like, and here comes, like, certain examples and whatnot. In the corporate world, everyone wears a suit and a tie and whatnot. Yeah. In the sports world, everyone wears sweatpants, sweatshirts, or anything that is fitness and whatnot. You know, you know. Those who are very artistic, they go about something different, but they're using a computer. They're using certain things, what an artist needs for that type of job and whatnot. For those, those who throw out the trash and whatnot, they wear a jumpsuit and whatnot to know that that they're dumping the trash. That's how you see them as. But once they take that off, what are you going to say as a person? Do you see what's in front of you? That's the issues that we got, and and this is what the same issue is going to be keep happening with the police officers. But that's just my extra take on this. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. And so we're going to go ahead and throw this to you, PAT, to wrap us up. Just to reiterate really quickly, the question is, why would 4 white cops pose in a photo with a black man handcuffed on the ground? What say you, sir?
Okay, so I agree with you that they did this because they can. I mean, it's really that simple and straightforward, because they can do that. I also agree with you in regards to sending a message. The whole thing with Dylan Roof and how those officers, those race soldiers, took Dylan Roof, a white domestic terrorist, to Burger King. Again, this goes back to when I mentioned whiteness being valued or protecting whiteness. That's really what it all boils down to. So for me, this when we're talking about this subject right here, this photo, this is simple. This photo is out there because there is a race war. Plain and simple. We're in a race war. Now, when people hear me say race war, or even the word war on its own, they think I'm being a bit too extreme. But in all actuality, I'm not. I'm not being extreme at all. If we look at the definition of the word war, it is defined as a state of hostility, conflict, or antagonism. When we're living in a system of racism / white supremacy, a system of injustice, I mean, isn't that a state of hostility, conflict, or antagonism since hundreds of years ago when Black people were put onto slave ships and brought to America against their own free will. Hundreds of years ago when colonizers came to America and murdered and enslaved millions of Native Americans and stole this very land that we're on today. I mean, we could run down the list. Slavery, the Black codes, segregation, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration. For example, the war on drugs and the 94 crime bill, miseducation in the school system, gentrification, lack of access to wealth. We can look no further than the racial wealth gap and police brutality. All of that is a race war, a war against Black people. We can't forget to mention the mainstream media. We can't forget to mention that also. We can't forget to mention the mainstream media, which is an apparatus that has made it their business to train the minds of the masses into buying into the demonization and degradation of Black people. So to go back to this police photo op with the bank robbery suspect, the photo was taken on purpose and media outlets covered it on purpose. The photo is egregious for obvious reasons. The apparent racism in it, showing the 4 white police officers, we're just gonna call them race soldiers or slave patrol, as we said before, posing with a Black man handcuffed on the ground, along with dogs in the photo. As the title of the article says, big game hunt trophy photo. That's exactly what else comes to mind when you see a photo like this. This communicates to the masses that these 4 white men hunted and took down an animal. Ladies and gents, this is what a race war looks like. For those who just don't see the race war, I mean, I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna have to believe that you're willfully ignorant. I'm just gonna have to believe that you're willfully ignorant at this point. Either that or you just don't care. And we already know what that means if you don't care. But between this photo and many of the atrocious things we have seen happen to Black people by overt racists and covert racists for centuries, decades to recent years, it's clear that it is open season on Black people. And I don't say this to scare anyone, because I believe now is not a time to live in fear. On the contrary, I think now is the time to fight back as best as we can. Because the truth of the matter is, the race war is not going to stop if we put our face in the sand or by cowering in fear and praying. We're not gonna hope and pray our way out of oppression. I hate to say this, but we're just not gonna hope and pray our way out of this. So for all you religious folk out there, I mean, and I'm gonna preach that, because for all you religious folk out there, I hate to break it to you, but we're not gonna hope and pray our way out of this one. We're not gonna hope and pray to white Jesus
to a pastor all in like 2 or 3 minutes. I ain't gonna lie.
White Jesus ain't coming. For those of you who believe in that bullshit.
Y'all see why I'm not religious though. So yeah.
White Jesus ain't coming to save nobody. There is no white Jesus, but we know some of you are still asleep, and you still believe in that nonsense. So all this hoping and praying, we're not going to hope and pray our way out of oppression. Let's just put that on the table. So for all you religious folk out there, stop all the hoping and praying and turning the other cheek and forgiving. Stop that bullshit, because that's really just a coping mechanism. You're living in a fantasy world, and this is fucking real life. This is real fucking life, a real physical world, a physical realm that we deal with where you touch things and you feel things.
I agree.
So stop this turn the other cheek and, hoping and praying and, it's not going to work. Flat out, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. We got to stop
it. For the folks out there that really buy into that bullshit, stop it. Wake the fuck up and get routed and rooted into reality, into the real world, like grown adults. We're not fucking children. Children can play and believe in fantasy. When you are a grown up, when you are a grown adult, you are rooted and routed into the real world, and you have to deal with the real world on concrete terms, straight up. So the only way to beat oppression on all levels is to fight oppression on all levels. And that can mean different things because everybody's going to fight differently. We all fight a different way. But the fact of the matter is, you are going to have to fight it. You're not going to be able to pray your way out of it. I'm sorry. You were, and I'm really not sorry, but you are not going to pray your way out of it. It's that simple. So wake the fuck up, deal with the real world, and let's fight. That's what we got to do. If we want things to get better, we got to fight. Plain and simple.
I feel like PAT, your new ad lib should just be stop it. Just the way you say stop it.
Yeah, stop it. Like,
I love it, sir. That's what you exactly what needs to be said. And let me just make it clear here. Here at The Good, the Bad, and the Truth, we all support everyone living the lifestyle that best fits them. We want to make clear that we are not against religious folks. But these, again, are our opinions, and we are sharing them as they relate to us as individuals. Let me just say that, PAT, I felt everything you said. I'm all for people having their religious beliefs, but action is what brings change.
Right.
Action is what brings change.
Right.
And so I could not agree with you more on that aspect. Like
Kwame Brown said, results.
Agree with that.
Right. Action, definitely. And I have nothing against religion in and of itself. For those who get that idea, no, that's not what this is about. But my thing is, we can't use that as some type of coping mechanism and a way to be a coward and to live in fear.
That's what
and to take us out of the real world. We still need to be in the real world and very much present in the real world. And we need to deal with the real world on concrete terms. Mm-hmm. If you want to, follow religion, if you follow religion, that's fine, do that. But, you have to deal with that on its own, somewhere else. But when it comes to, something as real as this, as the race war, as I've described already, it's going to be action straight up. Like there's no savior coming. There's no white savior coming. There's no savior, period, coming.
So I need one more stop it.
You're the savior. We are the savior. That's it. Nobody's Sky Daddy's not coming. Like it ain't happening. Sky Daddy ain't coming from the sky, and he's not gonna.
Add a stop it right behind that. You should have just say Sky Daddy and just say stop it.
Like stop it, B.
Excellent.
Sky Daddy ain't coming.
Stuff. Yes, thank you for sharing, PAT. I wholeheartedly agree with the points that you made about action. It's absolutely required. And, I think we definitely are on the same page, all three of us, in our points, in regards to why these cops have this level of comfortability to behave this way. I hope that, we are able to reach folks and really have them take the time to stop and think about the nation that we live in. Because, I can't comfortably say this is a great nation because of the blatant injustices that we face, and that's unfortunate because, I do think America has a lot to offer. Equality is not one of them. It's not one of them. and that's sad.